You know, Tom, one of the hardest things to navigate so often in intervention, people are going to believe it's the addict, when in actuality, the family tends to derail the process more often. Have you experienced the same thing?
No.
What?
Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everybody?
First things first, thank you for tuning into this podcast. Whether you are listening on the podcast app, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, you name it, we are there. We're also on YouTube. You can find these on YouTube at realrecoverytalk.com. And yeah, we try and put up as many podcasts as we can in video form. Right, Ben?
Yes, sir.
So in the end, if you want to reach out to either myself or Ben, you can always email us, Tom at realrecoverytalk.com and Ben at realrecoverytalk.com, and we will get back to you momentarily. Right, Ben?
Right. Tom, you sound a little under the weather.
I am under the weather, as putting it lightly.
Oh,
You know?
hear it in your voice.
Yeah. But I'm here
We're here.
for the people,
And you got your coffee.
and I got my coffee. Cold brew coffee. You're breathing really heavy into the microphone.
That's because I just came up these stairs. Still recovering.
All right. So for those of you that don't know, Ben is actively prepping for a bodybuilding show, which involves him eating about 6,000 calories per day. And I think in turn, it has made him very, how do I put this? Unconditioned.
I'm a heavy breather now.
Yeah. So how's that going anyway?
It's hard. Some days I want to quit, but thankfully I got good people standing behind me like, oh, you've already come this far, stick it out. It's kind of like recovery, you know, it's a challenge.
How long have you been doing it now?
It's been like 15 weeks of stuffing my face, and it's not like eating pizza and hamburgers where it just slides right down and it's easy to do. It's like very chewy chicken and white rice. It's not fun.
English muffins,
Yeah.
honey,
Dates,
peanut butter, raspberries.
That's about it. Mostly chicken and rice, though. It's not fun, but there's a goal.
I did reach out to your coach yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You gonna stick to it?
No, I told him, I said, hey, listen, whatever you're doing for Ben is working. And I said, it is inspirational. But, and then I said, who knows, maybe I'll do it again, but actually do it.
So my coach is actually in sobriety too. What I get confused with sobriety. He's 6 years now. Yeah, he just celebrated 6 years. You know, so it's getting into fitness stuff and having goals. You know, it can be healthy. Just always be sure to not take it to an unhealthy manner.
Well, it gave you like a sense of purpose almost, right?
Yeah, accomplishment, something to focus on.
Do you find yourself though, like not necessarily switching addictions, but can you see how that could be? Is that possible for somebody like you? I don't know.
I do. I've thought this through where when it's all said and done, like day after the bodybuilding competition, then what? And like there is a lot of talk. Like you've got to be mentally prepared. They call it like post-show blues or something like that. I think there's other names for it too, but like you're working so hard up to this day, you have that day, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, what do I do now? You know, and it's kind of like if you relate it to recovery and addiction, it's the same kind of thing. You know, you're using drugs and alcohol every day nonstop, and all of a sudden you put it down. You're like, well, what do I do now? So
What will you do? I mean, what do you think?
Well, also with the help of a coach, which could be the equivalent to a sponsor, you know, in many ways. I'm trying to make an analogy here. They will also help you transition back into like eating more normally again. You know, you kind of do a reverse diet, if you will, and just kind of slowly get back into.
Because what you're doing right now obviously isn't sustainable. It's not it's in prep for the show.
Yeah. So, and it's extreme.
It is
eating
extreme.
6,000 calories a day is not a normal thing.
I'll be happy when you can go to like anywhere and eat a normal meal.
Yeah, I definitely want some Mexican food,
Yeah.
Grimaldi's pizza. Tom loves taco trucks. If there's a taco truck within Tom's sight on the side of the road, he's busting a U-turn and we're pulling in every time.
Yeah, every time. All right. Well, anyways, wanted to come on here and record something, an issue that we're running into as of recently. Ben is actually, in fact, having a little bit of an issue with family right now, and we thought that it would be a good opportunity for us to come on here and kind of share what is taking place and why this is become detrimental to somebody that wants to get clean and sober. And what you're about to hear is real life situations / scenarios that we go through really on a daily, maybe not daily, but a weekly basis, dealing with family members and loved ones. So go ahead, Ben. Why don't you just kind of get right into it, lay a little groundwork as to what's going on here, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. So, as everybody that listens to the show regularly knows, Tom and I get phone calls, emails, stuff along those lines all the time. People looking for some direction, most of the time on how to deal with a loved one that they're trying to get some help, whatever form that looks like, whether it's going to treatment, get them into a 12-step program, etc. So, one of the calls that I got, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, probably not 4 weeks ago, it's pretty recent. A young lady called on behalf of, I'm going to leave everything anonymous for the sake of this conversation, but called on behalf of her sister, and her sister was drinking very, very heavily, in one of those situations where her sister didn't appear to be looking for help whatsoever. And their concern is like, how do we get her to quote unquote hit rock bottom and be ready to accept help? So at that time, her and the family called me. Now, I will come out and say, a lot of times families are one of the hardest things to navigate. They can actually be quite the obstacle in getting somebody help because you can lay out a plan for them, and it's pretty often that the family are the ones that fall through on the plan. So I spoke with the family at length, and I won't go into details of who in the family, all that stuff, but basically laid out a plan. You need to set this situation up so that, let me talk about the first step in recovery real quick. We admitted we are powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. The part that I want to highlight is the unmanageability. As long as somebody is drinking or drugging and their life is still somewhat manageable, there's not much of a reason or motivation for them to stop, so to speak. There's no outside factors that are motivating them. So during an intervention process, what we want to happen is to kind of set the situation and the stage so that they begin to see that things are becoming unmanageable. Because when my drinking and drugging became unmanageable, that's when I needed help. I couldn't pay my bills, couldn't keep a roof over my head. I'm losing my job, no longer have a vehicle, not allowed to see my kids, whatever that looks like for somebody. There's a million scenarios. This scenario in particular was difficult because this individual has a lot of monetary resources, roof over her head, didn't have much to worry about from that aspect, well off, so to speak. So what is going to motivate her? Well, with that being said, she randomly, the sister just so happens to call and say, I'm ready to get help. So she hit some sort of internal bottom and was ready. She just couldn't take the drinking anymore, which is a good thing. Internal, external, doesn't matter. We were looking for something to motivate her to get help. So she surprisingly calls in, internally motivated to get sober. So I talked to the family. They're like, what do we do? As far as next steps, I'm like, well, you take this opportunity and you set up treatment, whatever that looks like for her. She's going to need detox, etc. Other family members came forward and said, we're going to, they agreed with absolutely everything we said, the plan. It was good to go. Next thing you know, I get a phone call. Hey, some other family members stepped in, and they're going to take her into their home and write a contract that she's not allowed to drink. I don't know about your experience, Tom, but anytime a mother, father, loved one says they're writing a contract for their loved one.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of parents say, or not necessarily tell me that they're going to write contracts, but ask my opinion of contracts, and if in fact they work, and they don't. There's just really no way around it. I mean, the contract in and of itself is as good as the paper that it's written on. It's they don't work. If they
Yeah.
did, then I would be the first to tell you. But anyways, go ahead.
They're probably more likely to use that paper to smoke something with it.
Yeah, or light a bonfire. Who knows?
But with all that being said, the family offered these couple of family members who don't understand addiction and alcoholism. Oh, well, we're just pushing her away. We want to show her love. I'm like, and this is where you have to learn to detach with love to get somebody help. We're going to keep her from drinking was one of the person's exact words. We are going to keep her from drinking.
Yeah, and I want to pause you there because I don't want to skim past that. You said something I want you to talk about a little bit more, which is detach with love. Break that down.
So this process of helping a loved one get help is very, very counterintuitive. And we've talked about this on past episodes, but it is really good to recap. As a parent, I can speak for myself. Tom has 3 kids. I have 2 kids. Something happens to our kids, and we want to swing in and help them, make sure that they're safe. The thing about that is it goes back to this comfortability / manageability. We want the manageability to become unmanageable. Therefore, where, let's say you have a loved one that's using, oh, well, I want them, they can't afford their apartment anymore. They can't afford their cell phone. They can't afford their car payment. Well, I'm going to swing in and I'm going to pay all that for them so that I know that they're safe. They can call me. I know they can still get to work because they have their car. I know they still have a roof over their head because I paid their rent for them. When in reality, unfortunately, what's really happening is you're making their drinking and drugging more comfortable. Oh, guess what? I got to do heroin today. Mom paid my rent. I still have my car. I still have my job. I still have my cell phone, so I can still call my drug dealer. Why do I need to change what I'm doing? Heroin's working out great for me.
And I don't have to pay for any of those things. So I have even more money for heroin.
Yes, and I literally saw this happen with another family day after Christmas. Just throwing that out there. So this stuff is happening real life. But yeah, detaching with love, saying, I love you, but I'm no longer going to help you financially. We need to get them to a place where their drugging and their alcoholism is causing problems in their life.
Another way that we've heard this is love them from afar, love them from afar and kill them up close. So love them from afar, meaning detach with love, meaning you can love said person, whoever that is, from a distance. You don't have to make these payments for them. You don't have to do these things. Doesn't mean that you don't love them. In fact, you doing those things and enforcing those boundaries and holding by them proves that you do love them. Kill them up close. You start doing these things for them. They have no real reason to get clean and sober. And there's a high likelihood that they'll overdose and die. I mean, that's just the way that it is.
Yeah, it needs to be something needs to intervene. It needs to get very uncomfortable for them to stop. So with this situation, going back to that, the couple of family members that offered up the housing, I should have told them I had a crystal ball. I really don't. Like, I wish I was wrong about this situation, and I wish, the girl stay sober. I really do. However, I've been doing this long enough. Tom's been doing this long enough, statistics-wise. I told the family, if you allow her to move in with you, then you are giving her a place to continue her drinking. Oh, we're, again, going back to, we'll keep her sober. We'll have her sign a contract that she can't drink in our house, etc. She has to get a job, etc. Guess what happened? I get a text this morning. Reaching out because, unsurprisingly, my sister is starting to relapse. She disappeared again the day after Christmas. I'm curious if there's anything helpful I can do to prepare for the next time she reaches out. I'm thinking maybe creating a list of rehab facilities in her insurance network and also texting something nonchalant and lighthearted once a week to remind her that I'm here. Curious if there's anything else proactive I can do. No worries if there truly isn't, but thought it wouldn't hurt to ask. I want to throw it out there because I did speak with this young lady on the phone prior to this relapse starting, as she put it. I let her know because in this instance, those other family members got in the way of what was set up as a good plan. At the time, they were looking for a detox. The girl was seemingly ready to go to detox. And the family sidelined that, gave her a spot to go. I kind of lost my train of thought here.
Well, I mean, it makes total sense to why, they derail the process. And this is one of the, and we can kind of focus in on this. Family members and loved ones have a very hard time putting their own emotions aside, and that is one of the biggest issues, is that especially when it's somebody that you really do love and you care for, you in your logical mind feel like you can help them, when in fact it's based off of a false reality that because you love them so much, you care for them so much, you want them to do well, you can't look beyond your emotional standpoint, and it causes you to do things that you shouldn't do. So when you do reach out to, or when somebody reaches out to myself or you, Ben, we're an unbiased party. I don't know this person. I don't love this person. I mean, I really don't know them. We're cut from the same cloth, though. Me and this girl, we're the same person, and I know what works, what doesn't work. I'm unbiased. I don't have any sort of emotional tie. I'm not biased at all towards one side or the other. To our loved ones, it's the opposite. And in fact, I think in this situation, we see, because they're so emotionally dysregulated, they do what they think is right and move them in the house.
So after the family had derailed the plan that was set, so to speak, this young lady called me and said, "What do I do now?" And I said, "Well, you're powerless over the situation at this point. They've decided to offer her a place to go where she will most likely relapse." And I said, "You might not want to hear this, but the silver lining is that's okay, because here's what we're going to do next." Tom and I refer to this as a upfront contract. Hey, family members, we're going to do your plan this time because clearly that's what's happening. I'm out of control of this situation. So we're going to try your plan. We're going to go ahead, let her move in with you. Nothing I can do about it. However, let's be very clear right now, uncles, if this doesn't work out, we did try it your way. Now, in this case, we're going to go along with something, in this case, that Ben and Tom would suggest, or whoever else's plan, the interventionist, the professional, whoever it may be. Make that upfront contract that, family, you decided to go a different direction. If it doesn't work, we're going back and we're actually trying the plan that was laid out the first time. And so there is a silver lining to this, because the family is getting the opportunity to see that what they did didn't work. They had to try it, and I can't really, from an emotional level, blame a family for trying. They love this person, indefinitely, and they're doing their best with the knowledge and experience that they have. They want to rescue, because that is what parents, family members, loved ones do. We rescue, If I see one of my kids run out into the street in front of a car, darn right, without even thinking about it, I'm running in front of that car to push my kid out of the way. I wouldn't have to think twice. It would just be instinct, right? Same kind of thing here. You want to jump in there and rescue. So there's a silver lining, though.
I think too with the loved ones, it's one of those things, though, they can have a hard time even after this recognizing that it wasn't the right thing to do. And we've seen it where, well, let's try this again. Let's try and tighten up the reins a little bit more. What else can we do? So I wouldn't be surprised in this situation if they say, oh, well, this is a one-off, She really learned her lesson this time. Now instead of just the contract, we're going to have the contract, but we're going to put a tracker on her phone. Or we're going to have to tell her, we're going to put a GPS on your car. Or we're going to have to monitor your bank account and see where you're spending money. You're going to have to do all these things. And unless you do those, you're going to have to find a place to live. And she'll do them. That's the thing. She probably will do these things, but she's smart. And just because she has a GPS tracker on her phone doesn't mean that she's not going to figure out a way and circumvent the system and figure out how to drink. You can monitor her bank accounts all you want, and she's going to figure out a way to get cash, or she's going to figure out a way to, I've seen it. You go and you buy gift cards at Publix, for $50, $75. Shows up on the bank account as Publix. So loved one goes in there, so sees a transaction for $50 and 30 some cents. Oh, they think she went and bought groceries. That's good. Well, she can go take that gift card, walk right back into Publix, and get booze. So there's always ways to circumvent the system. Point is that how far and to what lengths are you going to go to try and rescue somebody because of your own emotional ties to the situation? It's one of the biggest things that I think is one of the biggest hurdles anyway that Ben and I have when it comes to parents and loved ones is telling them or having them buy into the idea that you have no control over this situation. You really don't. The only thing you have control over are your actions. And are your actions going to support this person getting sober, or is it going to support them in their addiction?
And I want to really hit home the point. Those examples that Tom used, the gift cards, the trackers on the car, those are pretty normal. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking you're going to do one of those, literally we've seen loved ones try that 100 times. They all think that they came up with something unique.
Yeah.
Oh, I put a tracker on their car. Like, I bet nobody else has done that. We've heard it 1,000 times.
Well, and there's like breathalyzer, programs, apps that you can download to where I could tell, say my son's of drinking age and, he's got a couple DUIs. I say, Levi, listen, the only way you're going to stay in my house now is if every time you leave this house, you need to do this breathalyzer. Well, he's going to do it. And maybe, in fact, he's going to not drink. There's a good possibility that so as long as he has to blow in that breathalyzer, he's not going to drink. But now, is he doing it because he has to, or is he doing it because he wants to? He's doing it because he has to. So that might be sustainable for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months. And then at some point, I'm going to be sick of having to look at my phone. Okay, Levi hasn't drank. And eventually I'm going to say, okay, we don't need to do this anymore. You've proved that you won't drink. And then as soon as we no longer are doing this, he's going to start drinking again. And he's going to make up for lost time. So that's not all these things in the end boil down to, like this situation that you're dealing with right now, Ben. This girl, parents or whoever it is, needs to say, we don't give a shit where you go, but you ain't staying here type thing. And she needs to get into some sort of program, whether it doesn't matter where, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be treatment. People get sober inside of AA, inside of NA, inside the church, whatever. She needs to do something. Her back needs to be up against the wall. And then eventually she needs to start buying into the idea of sobriety. And now she's doing these things because she wants to, not because she has to.
One of the other things I want to add to this circumstance, if my recollection is correct, I could be off on a little bit of the details here, but if I recall, this young lady had gone to treatment before, and therefore one of the rebuttals from the family was, oh, treatment doesn't work. But going into those details, I believe they said that she entered treatment and then left AMA against medical advice within 20 days. So, but they're counting that as like, oh, she did treatment. It didn't work, but she skipped out of the treatment center before the treatment was over. So chances are, she felt forced there, etc. But at the end of the day, there was somebody there to pick her up from the treatment center, that she was leaving AMA. So like she's gotten these comfortable ways out, so to speak. Yeah. And what needs to stop is that pattern of drinking's okay. Living my life this way is okay. If you're making it more comfortable, there's the likelihood of somebody stopping drinking and drugging declines drastically.
Yep. Ben, I think we're needed.
I think so too, yeah.
We've had a couple people peek their head in, and so let's wrap this up.
So I want to wrap it up because, I imagine this individual will listen to this. I plan on calling her later too, but just wanted to use a real life scenario. My suggestion at this point is going to be the plan that we laid out the first time. But beyond that, also, after the family, quote unquote, derailed that plan, remember to bring up to the family, we tried it this way, it didn't work. Let's go back to the original plan that we did not go with. Now let's follow through on that, because that was the real point that I wanted to hit home, is the family needs to know we tried it your way.
Now we got to try it mine.
Yep, and you do the same thing with an addict or an alcoholic. If an intervention falls short and they say, "Oh, I can stay sober on my own." Hey, if you're absolutely refusing to do that, that's fine. Guess what? They usually last a week. If that, and then they're calling back, yeah, I didn't stay sober.
Yep. All right, well, we hope that helps. And in the end, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always reach out to myself or Ben, Tom at realrecoverytalk.com and Ben at realrecoverytalk.com. And what we want to do is help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.